We'll now be looking at a few different aspects of running lineups and evidence for best practice in each case. Let's start by considering how many lineups we should run. For instance, if we had the resources, would it be a good idea to just run a separate lineup for every single person who is in the vicinity of a crime in order to maximize the chances of getting the perpetrator? That is, do we treat everyone as a suspect irrespective of other evidence? To consider this question, let's look at the 4 possible outcomes to a lineup. These 4 outcomes can be described in a 2x2 contingency table. 2 of the outcomes are good. There's a correct identification or correct hit, where the suspect is the criminal and the eyewitness correctly identifies them as the criminal in the lineup. There is a correct rejection, a correct negative, where the suspect in the lineup is innocent and the eyewitness correctly does not identify them as the criminal. The other 2 options are bad. There's an incorrect identification or false positive, where the suspect in the lineup is innocent but the eyewitness incorrectly identifies them as the criminal. This is what happened in the case of Lydell Grant. Finally, there's an incorrect rejection or false negative, where the suspect in the lineup is the criminal but the eyewitness fails to identify them. So, would it be a good idea to just run a lineup with everyone in the vicinity of a crime in order to maximize the chances of getting the perpetrator? Let's see what that might look like. Here's some people where one has been murdered, one is the murderer, and the rest are innocent but happen to be in the area. What would it look like if we treated everyone in the area as a suspect in terms of that contingency table? That is, we run a lineup for every single one of them. We'll get one person, the actual murderer, in the first column of the contingency table, where their lineup will either correctly identify them as the murderer or incorrectly indicate they are innocent. Then everyone else, all the innocent bystanders, will be in the second column. Their lineups will either confirm they are innocent with a correct rejection or incorrectly identify them as the murderer. So you'll notice that there are a lot of people in that second column. This means that if we treat a lot of people as suspects, then there'll be a greater chance that the murderer will be one of them, but also a greater chance that an innocent person will be incorrectly identified as the murderer, where every extra lineup we run has a chance of a misidentification. In other words, conducting more lineups may have the effect of increasing correct identifications, but at the cost of increasing false positives. If we run too many criminal-free lineups, lineups where the suspect is not the perpetrator, which is all the people in our second column here, then we're substantially ramping up the chances that an innocent person will be falsely identified as the criminal. How do we avoid having too many criminal-free lineups? How many is too many? Gary Wells of Iowa State University collaborated with other high-profile eyewitness memory researchers to produce an official statement from the American Psychology Law Society, which was published as a paper in the journal Law and Human Behavior. This statement outlined a number of consensus recommendations about best practice for running lineups based on the available psychological research. We'll be referring to these recommendations throughout the rest of this episode, but their specific recommendations with regards to how many lineups to perform was that we should only run a lineup when sufficient evidence-based suspicion exists that the suspect is the perpetrator. That is, we shouldn't run a lineup with just anyone who happened to be in the vicinity of the crime. Without this sufficient suspicion that a suspect is the offender, the risk of false positives as a result of running too many lineups without an offender may become a problem.